Okay, here are the highlights from the trigonometry webinar. We went through a quick review about finding missing lengths and missing angles in right angle triangles. First question we did, got a right angle triangle here, and first thing we always do is label the opposite side, opposite the angle. The longest side is the hypotenuse, leaving the other side as the adjacent. And with every question, writing out SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. In this case, we want to find the opposite. We do not need to find the hypotenuse, and we haven't got the hypotenuse, so it's not going to be either of those, so we must be using TOA. We want to find the opposite, so we cover up the opposite. So on your calculators you need to type in tan of 40, and I would close the bracket and multiply that by 4. And the answer to 3 significant figures, you get 3.35639, and so on. 3 significant figures, 1, 2, 3, you look at the fourth number, that tells you to round it up, so the answer is 3.36. We also looked at question 4 this morning, so we're going to label the sides again. So opposite the angle is 4.3, the longest side is the hypotenuse, leaving the other side as the adjacent. And again we write out SOHCAHTOA. In this case we do not want the adjacent, we've not been given the adjacent, so anything with the adjacent in we're not interested. So that must leave us with so. And here we want to find the hypotenuse, so we cover up the hypotenuse. This leaves us with the opposite divided by sine of the angle. So again on your calculator, 4.3 divided by sine of 38 is 6.98435, and so on. So to 3 significant figures, that is 6.98. Okay, the next thing we moved on to doing was finding the missing angles. And again, first things first, always label the sides that you have. So the side opposite the angle is the opposite. The longest side is the hypotenuse, and the other side is the adjacent. Writing out SOHCAHTOA again. We are looking for the angle in this case. We are not interested in the hypotenuse, so anything that's got the hypotenuse in we can get rid of. And we're finding the tan of the angle, which is the opposite divided by the adjacent. So to find just the angle, we need to do the inverse tan of the opposite divided by the adjacent. So if you do that on your calculator, you get that A is 20.55604, and so on. And you need it to 3 significant figures. So that's the first significant figure, second, third. You look at the fourth number to tell you what to do. This is 5 or more, so we need to round it up. That becomes 20.6 degrees. If we try the one just below it, again we're labelling. Here is the opposite. The longest side is the hypotenuse. The other one is the adjacent. We've got SOHCAHTOA, Toa. Here we're not interested in the adjacent, so anything with the adjacent in goes. We're finding the angle, so sine of the angle B is equal to the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. So to find angle B, we need to do the inverse sine of the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. Again on your calculator, inverse sine of 7.2 divided by 9.8 gives you 47.2813 and so on. We're only interested in to three significant figures. 1, 2, that's the third number. Look at the fourth, tells us to round it up, so the answer is 47.3.